The neon glow of the exclusive club flickered against the darkened street, casting an eerie light over the long line of eager patrons waiting outside. The entrance was guarded by two burly security guards in black suits, their expressions unreadable as they selectively allowed guests inside. Luxury cars purred to a stop, dropping off high-profile celebrities and business elites, each one greeted with a nod before disappearing beyond the velvet ropes. Keanu Reeves approached the entrance, hands tucked in the pockets of his worn-out jeans. He wore a simple black t-shirt, scuffed boots, and a leather jacket that had clearly seen years of travel. No entourage, no expensive jewelry, just a quiet presence that contrasted sharply with the ostentatious wealth surrounding him. A couple standing nearby threw him a quick glance. The woman whispered something to her partner, who chuckled under his breath. "Is this guy serious?" one of the men in line muttered to his friend. "Looks like he took a wrong turn from a dive bar." Keanu ignored the remarks, his face unreadable as he stepped toward the entrance. The taller of the two security guards, a man built like a linebacker, extended an arm to block his path. "Invitation only," he said flatly, looking Keanu up and down. Keanu remained calm. "I understand," he said simply. "I'd like to go in." The second guard scoffed, folding his arms. "Buddy, do you even know where you are? This isn't some casual bar. We have a very strict guest list. And unless your name is on it." The first guard checked a sleek tablet, scrolling through the exclusive guest list. He didn't bother hiding his smirk as he lifted his gaze back to Keanu. "Not seeing your name here, pal." Keanu gave a small nod, unsurprised. "You might want to check again." The first guard let out a dry chuckle. "I don't think so. Why don't you step aside and let the real VIPs through?" A group of elegantly dressed guests strolled past, throwing glances at Keanu before disappearing inside. The second guard chuckled. "Nice try, old man." Keanu sighed lightly but didn't argue. Instead, he reached into his pocket and retrieved his phone. "Could you call the owner?" The first guard narrowed his eyes. "Oh, now you're friends with the owner? You expect me to believe that?" The second guard let out a laugh. "Man, we get wannabes like you all the time. You don't belong here, okay? Now, do yourself a favor and walk away before we make you." A murmur ran through the line. People were beginning to take notice of the situation. Some had their phones out, recording. A few even seemed entertained by what was unfolding. Keanu, as always, remained composed. "Last chance," he said softly, holding up his phone. "Call him." The taller guard let out an exasperated sigh and yanked the phone from Keanu's hand, holding it up for show. "All right, let's call the owner and tell him some random guy thinks he's important." He pressed the dial button. 1 ring. 2. Then a voice answered. A sharp, authoritative voice that instantly wiped the smirk off the guard's face. "Who is this?" the voice demanded. The guard hesitated. Sir, there's a man at the entrance claiming he knows you. Says his name is, Keanu Reeves." A pause. Then, the voice on the other end spoke again, this time, filled with something close to fury. "You idiot. Let him in. Now." The guard's face went pale. The second guard took a step back, his earlier arrogance melting away into sheer panic. Keanu watched, expression unreadable, as the first guard slowly lowered the phone. The crowd was now completely silent, all eyes on what was happening. The owner's voice thundered through the receiver again. "And tell him to go to the Wall of Legends." Keanu raised an eyebrow. "The Wall of Legends?" The first guard swallowed hard before glancing at his colleague. He stepped aside immediately, pulling the velvet rope with a trembling hand. Mr. Reeves, please, go right in." Keanu didn't move right away. He looked between the guards, watching their sudden change in behavior with the same calm expression he had maintained all night. Then, after a moment, he nodded and walked inside, disappearing beyond the entrance. As the doors shut behind him, the first guard let out a shaky breath, turning to the second. "Dude, we just messed up. Big time." And outside, the murmurs from the crowd turned into excited whispers. Everyone had just witnessed something they wouldn't soon forget. But inside, Keanu Reeves was about to find out exactly why he was being directed to the Wall of Legends. And what he saw next would change everything. Keanu stepped through the dimly lit hallway, the bass of the music from the main floor vibrating through the walls. A private corridor led him toward a grand, velvet-draped section of the club. The plush red carpet beneath his boots muffled his footsteps, adding to the surreal atmosphere of the place. Ornate sconces cast flickering golden light on the walls, illuminating the hallway like a shrine to those who had once stood where he was now walking. Then, he saw it. The Wall of Legends. Lined with golden-framed portraits, each photograph displayed an individual who had left an unforgettable mark on the club's history: icons, pioneers, cultural influencers, and celebrities. Every frame gleamed under the soft, ambient lighting, giving the entire wall an almost sacred aura. And right in the center of them all, was him. A large, perfectly captured photo of Keanu Reeves from years ago, smiling with a drink in hand, surrounded by a group of fellow celebrities. Below it, a gold plaque read: "Keanu Reeves, a true legend. Forever welcome." For a moment, Keanu simply stood there, taking it all in. The irony of the situation was almost amusing. The security guards who had just tried to throw him out had been guarding a club that had immortalized him on its most prestigious wall. He exhaled lightly, the corner of his mouth lifting in an amused yet humble smile. Footsteps behind him interrupted his thoughts. Turning slightly, he saw the club owner approaching, his face a mixture of embarrassment and urgency. The man was impeccably dressed in a designer suit, his demeanor one of authority, yet at this moment, his confidence seemed somewhat shaken. "Mr. Reeves," the owner greeted with a slight bow of his head, his voice measured yet apologetic. "I deeply apologize for the mix-up outside." Keanu studied him for a second before giving a small shrug. "No harm done," he said simply. The owner, still clearly unsettled by the incident, gestured toward the main VIP section. "Please, let me make it up to you. Everything is on the house tonight. Whatever you want. You are, after all, one of our greatest guests." Keanu nodded politely, but his eyes remained on the wall for a few more moments. He had never been one for grand gestures or self-celebration, but seeing himself honored in such a way stirred something in him. He wasn't here for free drinks or preferential treatment, he had just wanted a quiet night out. Yet, life always had a way of throwing him into situations like this. "Thanks," he finally said, turning toward the main lounge. As he stepped inside the VIP area, the atmosphere immediately shifted. Heads turned. Conversations halted for split seconds before quickly resuming, now infused with hushed whispers. A few patrons immediately recognized him, their faces lighting up with excitement, while others who had witnessed the commotion at the entrance now understood why the guards had looked so horrified. Keanu made his way toward the bar, where the bartender, having already caught wind of what happened, greeted him with a respectful nod. "Mr. Reeves, what can I get you?" He glanced at the extravagant cocktails lined up behind the counter before shaking his head slightly. "Just water, please." The bartender smiled knowingly and quickly poured him a chilled glass. "On the house, of course." Meanwhile, outside, the security guards were still recovering from the humiliation of their mistake. One of them, the taller of the two, ran a hand over his face, exhaling sharply. "Dude, we just messed up. Big time." His partner nodded slowly, still staring at the entrance as if hoping to undo what had happened. "We're never living this down." And the clubgoers who had witnessed it all? They had just seen a story unfold that they'd be telling for years. Many of them had captured parts of the incident on their phones, and within hours, videos would be circulating online. Security kicks out Keanu Reeves from VIP club, instantly regrets it. It was the kind of headline that practically wrote itself. But inside, Keanu Reeves simply sat back, sipping his water as the club continued around him. He wasn't angry. He wasn't gloating. He was just there, as he had been in countless places before, quietly observing, always seeming to be a step beyond the noise and chaos of the world. Because tonight, the legend of Keanu Reeves only grew stronger.